Hey everyone, Meinke here from MLive.com, joined by Justin Rogers. Do you think they've noticed yet that I'm wearing the same shirt?
I took off my hoodie, so I'd look like I changed.
We're shooting all these in a row, if you haven't noticed. Today's the defense, installment 2 of our video preview of the NFL draft, which begins Thursday. Justin, what's your take on the Lions' defensive needs and how they fit into this draft?
It starts up front just like it did on the offensive side of the ball. They lost Ndamukong Suh. They lost Nick Fairley. They're not bringing back C.J. Mosley. They've added a couple guys in Haloti Ngata and Tyron Walker, who, those are one-year contract guys. They still have to address the trenches. There's a lot of names there in the first round that have been tied to the Lions, none more than Malcolm Brown. I think that's a realistic possibility if he's on the board when the Lions are up at 23 to come here. Productive guy, good character guy, fits the physical mold of what this team is looking for in a defensive tackle.
This draft is pretty deep at defensive tackle, and it's a position they could address in later rounds if they go, say, offensive line or whatever in the first round. But the value of getting, I think, a guy in the first round, a defensive tackle, is you get a guy theoretically who's going to start for you from day one, or at least compete for that job, and long term would be a multi-year starter for you. And the Lions are going through a rebuild right now, totally at defensive tackle, with only Karan Reed back from last year. And so, if you don't get a guy early in this draft at defensive tackle, you risk having to go through basically 2 consecutive rebuilds. And the Lions have a lot of talent on the defensive line, but that much fluidity, you can cause some long-term problems. And as Mayhew said last week, any good defense they typically start with a great defensive line because they disrupt everything, they disrupt the tempo of the offense, makes everyone else's jobs easier. You mentioned Malcolm Brown. He's I think the top realistic guy for the Lions at that position. I know they like Danny Shelton as well from Washington, but I'm not sure if he's going to be there because a lot of teams like him. He's a massive human being. There was a photo on Twitter of him and Haloti Ngata. That's approximately 800 pounds of human or so, give or take. Big dude. But of the realistic guys, I think Malcolm Brown makes the most sense. Jordan Phillips from Oklahoma could as well, but there are more concerns with him. I know that concerns you.
Yeah, no, I like Carl Davis more. Not as high of a ceiling perhaps, but again, he fits that physical mold. Both Davis and Phillips played in a 2-gap college scheme, so their pass rushing stats don't look that impressive, but I think both will be better professional players. I feel better about Davis, especially given the injury risk and some of the concerns about maybe motor with Phillips. I think edge rusher is a weird one because right now you look at the Lions roster and they don't need an edge rusher. They've got 6 returning defensive ends. They've got Kyle Van Noy or Tahir Whitehead, whoever win that job, that are going to come down on the line of scrimmage and play in some of those 3-4 looks. So
Van Noy did that a lot in practice last year. I know that he didn't play a lot. You didn't see him on the field in games because of the hernia thing, but I think that's the plan for him, is to bring him down quite a bit.
Absolutely. And so, if one of those edge rushers that are dropping currently, whether it's injury concern or in Randy Gregory's case, the marijuana concern, if those guys slide to the Lions, they're going to have a tough decision because that's a clear case of possible best talent on the board, but do you draft at a position where you're pretty stockpiled already? Right.
A quick point on Carl Davis. I've talked to a couple of talent evaluators, one who has close ties to the Lions, and it seems they're pretty high on Carl Davis. That's the name I would definitely watch on day 2. Going back from the defensive line, cornerback, I think there are long-term concerns there. The Lions have Darius Slay back, and they're extremely high on him after his growth last year. They're banking on him on being a starter for them for a long time, possibly a star. And Rasheed Mathis is back. He was again really good last year, but Mathis turns 35 in camp, and I don't want to bank against the guy because he's the ageless wonder. He just never stopped. He was a mid-camp. In 2013, I got this job covering the Lions in 2013, and I'm covering my first preseason. The Lions got embarrassed against the Browns. I mean, just embarrassed. You were at that game. Yeah. And it was like a couple of days later. It was midweek the following week, and they signed like 5 or 6 veteran guys, like just scrap heap type of guys who are still available in training camps. And Rasheed Mathis is one of those guys. I remember talking to him on his first day thinking, this guy's not going to be here 2 weeks from now.
Right.
2 years later, he's the best cornerback on the team, or he's been the best cornerback on the team. But you never know when the wheels are going to fall off. That fall for a defensive back particularly, but any NFL player, it can happen fast, especially at that position. And so you have to be prepared. And if you're looking at getting a starting caliber cornerback in free agency is difficult. It's expensive, so you can go cheaper and do it in the draft. The issue with that is it takes a guy a year or two typically to become reliable. I mean, we saw that growth with Darius Slay. So I think the Lions will look to explore that option this year to address their long-term needs on the outside. Trey Waynes is the best guy at that position. I don't think anyone thinks he's going to be available at 23, but he would be a good fit, I think, for the Lions. He fits their scheme perfectly. He's a press corner, the best press corner probably in this draft, and it'd be interesting to see if they trade up for a guy like that.
I just given the holes and Mayhew's history, I don't see them taking a cornerback in the first round. Even I think Kevin Johnson from Wake Forest is fantastic. He's a little bit more slighter framed than a guy like Trey Waynes or Jalen Collins out of LSU, but just unbelievable technique, footwork, anticipation. He's a ball hawk. I think he could be really, really good in the NFL in the right scheme. Mm-hmm. Byron Jones from Connecticut, another just athletic marvel, set the world record in the standing long jump, but it's more than that. He was a very good cornerback at UConn, underrated, forced people to go back and look at his film and see how quarterbacks avoided him. I think both those guys could be on the board when the Lions pick, and I just think they'll pass because I think they're going to focus more on the trenches this year.
Best player available.
I know. and I don't know. For some reason, Mayhew doesn't value cornerbacks the way you'd think he would as a former cornerback. Yeah. They need depth. You talk about Mathis, the wheels falling off. Well, they didn't fall off last year, but then he got hurt in the playoff game, and the wheels fell off the team. Everything fell apart because they didn't have cornerback depth. So more than just finding his replacement, which is the long-term goal, you need the short-term answer of having a capable talent behind him in case he does have that injury, because as it currently stands, they didn't have anybody, and they need that guy on the roster.
The Lions have an embarrassment of riches and depth at linebacker. I don't think we need to address linebacker.
I don't think so.
So moving to the back end, the safety spot, it's kind of the same as the cornerback. They're set right now with Hedibo and Quinn, but Quinn turns 30 after the season. Hedibo turns 32 during the season. Hedibo's in the last year of his contract. There's the contract dispute. You could easily see the sides parting ways after this year, even though Hedibo had a really good first season with the Lions last year. So they're set for now, but there are depth. They have Issa Abdul-Qudus back, but there is depth to consider, and there's also long-term ramifications. But this safety class isn't very deep, and so they're not going to draft someone early, and even later in the draft, I'm not sure what the options will be. The Lions hosted a couple during the pre-draft visit phase of the offseason, but I don't think I expect the Lions to draft anybody unless it's like a developmental guy in the back end of the draft.
It'll be interesting. Landon Collins is considered pretty much the consensus. I might have messed up his name, but the best safety in this draft. He might be there when the Lions draft at 23. I mean, it's just that kind of depth of safety class. He's a big guy. He's 6'1", well built, NFL body already. Not the greatest ball skills, but pretty solid all-around safety. They're gonna have to find a guy, if they do draft one, that has more of like an Hedibo skill set. The guy that can come down in the box, can hit running backs in the lane. You always want coverage skills, but they won't be the premium characteristic you'd think that the Lions would be looking for in a safety in this draft class.
Right, I think that the Lions did take one. They'd want a physical guy to complement Quinn. Quinn was very good for the Lions in his first year with the team in 2013, but it wasn't until Hedibo came and played strong safety basically exclusively and played down in the box and was rushing the quarterback and so forth, and allowed Quinn to play the free safety role full time when he really truly blossomed. And I mean, he was an All-Pro, led the league in interceptions. So I think the Lions would look for that, not just skill, but that certain type of skill. I don't think they're looking for just any kind of safety. They'd be looking for a strong safety. I just don't. There's a couple of guys at the start of it, but they have other greater needs to consider, and I just don't think it's a pressing enough need in the back end to even address it, unless you really think that there's a developmental guy there who could become something for you. It's just not a big need.
You need somebody that can contribute on special teams right away.
Yeah. But I mean, they have that out of Qudus, and I think they like him, and he's back, right? So
Should have never cut the osprey, right? I mean, isn't what the commenters say? You let the guy go.
It's weird. I don't understand how some of these guys like Kellen Moore is like the most popular guy in the team. Like I think the Osprey, like every story we wrote about that guy last year was top story of the day or whatever. It's unbelievable how much some guys.
Training camp heroes, man.
Yeah.
Certain guys have those intangibles, the speed or the physical build that just people get excited about, and I don't know, whatever.
They've had a few of those over the years in training camp.
We look forward to identifying the one this year.
Yeah, well, this week's all about identifying the guy who can actually, contribute during the season. It'll be interesting to see which direction they go. I would expect for sure the Lions to draft a defensive tackle, probably early, perhaps even as early as the first round. The draft is deep there, and that is their biggest need on defense. But everything else is kind of a crapshoot. I just would not expect a linebacker, but that's about the only thing I could say.
Agreed.
For Justin Rogers, I'm Kyle Meinke. We are MLive. Keep it right here.